I'm Kelly Kearney with Starry Constellation Magazine, and with me today to talk about the new dark comedy thriller. It's really a combination of both. Sirens, streaming on Netflix later this month. Please welcome Felix Solis. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You play Jose, which is he's sort of like this gardener for this wealthy estate, but his responsibilities go far, far beyond just gardening. This like Stepford like paradise is what it feels like when it begins. What attracted you to this role with Jose?
Well, the writer Molly Smith Metzler is a playwright, and
Yes.
I'm a child of the theater. As they say, I grew up on the boards in theater in New York City, and so immediately once I saw it come across the audition, uh, the list, when the manager sends you the audition opportunity, and I read that Molly Smith Metzler had written it, I thought I'm in there just straight off the bat because I've been a fan of her writing as a playwright. So that was the first thing. And it's also based on a play called Element
Right.
P that she did that I've read. And it was just fascinating to me to watch a piece of theater be successfully transposed because I got a chance to read some of the script beforehand, successfully transposed for the screen, for the small screen, if you will, for the streaming screen. So that was one thing that just jumped at me. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And two, also, it's humbling when someone says, "I'm a fan, and I'd love for you to consider this." It's super humbling, and I've never taken that for granted in any way. And so when they called and they said, "We love you. Do you want to audition?" I said I'd be honored. Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's great.
yeah,
And I'm assuming she was a fan of your previous work, Omar Navarro from Ozark. We'll get to talk about him a little bit in the next
yeah,
question. But one of my favorite things about Jose, right from the jump, is how serious he seems in front of the bosses. But then behind the scenes, he's a little bit of a joker. He's like constantly trolling Millie Alcock's character with these text chains, kind of subtly bullying her. How was Jose described to you when you booked the series, and did it change from the page to screen? Did he evolve?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, he was described as the property manager who, he's the property manager who kind of sees nothing and knows everything. Right. And I thought that's super super fun and initially too was sort of a I've always been attracted to, and recently more so attracted to just playing, what my theater company and my film production company like to call street level characters, characters that are on the surface, on the ground. They're sort of straightforward and straight shooting. They're people that you know and you see and you recognize.
Mhm.
You go, oh, I know that person. And then there's an up leveling to that. So you take a street level character and you infuse it with some kind of complexity that you go, that's pretty fucking cool. And there was space for that. There was an attraction to that. But for me, the thing that I thought was interesting is that when I looked at the scene, there was already on the page a level of like what he's saying and what he's meaning is the same, but there is room for, wait, are you saying something else by what you're saying, or you're not? And so there, that kind of that definitely was something that they let me know. And to answer your question directly, when they said this is what we know and love about the character, it's that he sees nothing but knows everything.
Yeah, yeah. He's also got this kind of sarcastic, he speaks pragmatic, but he's also got this sarcastic and obviously mysterious and quiet authority. He definitely is the security for this I want to say island. It's not really an island, it's a cliffside mansion estate. He's
Yeah.
definitely a silent kind of mysterious authority. Did you model him after anyone, possibly someone from real life or fiction, someone that maybe inspired you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a creature of reference. I'm an actor of reference. I don't believe in I shouldn't say I don't believe. I don't know how to do my job to the best of my ability without having a real life reference for every. that I do in front of a camera or on stage. And so what I had to do is I had to reference people that I know. I had to reference my father's been a carpenter, a plumber, an electrician, and a superintendent my entire life. So I was like, okay, got the service element of him right at my fingertips and at my disposal. And lucky enough to still have him alive. He's 82 and still kicking, and so I'm always able to have that reference. Um, and then also, it doesn't take much, but again, referencing for me, it doesn't take much to be able to say, at least for me in my personal life, I've been in situations where I've had to be quiet about a certain part of information that I know about a certain person that I care for, and I therefore have the undaunting task of still remaining loyal and doing my job, but also knowing there's things that no one knows about this person that I have been entrusted with. And that, again, is an easy reference to have for someone who is behind the scenes and sort of knows, again, sees nothing but knows it all, you know? So it's just really life referencing. For me, I've been able to just I guess it's the way my mom raised me to just keep my eyes open and my ears open and my heart open as much as I possibly can throughout my life, that I then will always have a reference for, oh, this moment he is supposed to come across as a gardener, but we know he's a little bit more, a little bit less than that. And what is that? That's keeping a secret. That's keeping a facade. That's playing a part. And I know those things just by having a life reference for it.
I feel like actors are habitual people watchers, and
Yeah.
kind of always finding the differences between people and the similarities within themselves.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. I force myself to take it a step further, that I don't just watch and observe, but that I'm also absorbing the experience that I myself as a human being am having. So yes, we can watch someone and go, oh, that would be he's got a limp. That would be an interesting thing to incorporate in a character in the future. But also this fact that I just stubbed my toe and now I'm limping for 4 days. What does that feel like? Let me remember what that is in my body and in my personal experience that I can then reference into a character in some way.
Well, yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, you've portrayed these complex characters. We talked about Omar Navarro from Ozark, and audiences have come to associate you with these quiet, all like a little bit terrifying roles that carry this undercurrent of menace. Jose in Sirens, he's enigmatic character, but he's also authoritative. He feels lighter, but more grounded in like dry humor, subtle rebellion, even a little bit. How did you
Sure.
step into the shoes of him and compare it to your past work? Was there like a different energy or mindset when you went into it? A little bit
Sure.
lighter.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. The lightness is again on the page. So, again, we'll always come back to the fact that Molly has written something that is playable. I also believe that as an actor, I'm an instrument. I'm more of an instrument than I am an actor in my own ideology of what acting is. And so I'm an instrument. And so if I have sheet music and I got to play that music, that instrument in me playing that music, if the music is written well, then it's going to sound beautiful. And it's similar to what I do with scripts, where I look at them and I go, "Oh, this is good music to play. I'll be able to play this well with my instrument." That being one of the elements, and the other element too is also a kind of uh, an activeness. When you're actively doing something to another person, then it's about a status decision, or it's about am I the one in control in this scene? Am I not the one what am I doing to the other person in this scene as an actor? What's my action to intimidate, to scare, to coddle, to love, to protect? You're always doing something to the other person. So it's not about me, because I think that the trick that we as actors can fall into, trap trick, is that we're doing things for ourselves.
Hmm.
And when we do something for ourselves, it's a bit in my opinion, it's a bit less interesting than if we're being watched do something to another person.
Right.
So,
It's acting a little bit like a tennis match in that way. There's really not a whole lot of
sure.
match if it's just you playing against the wall.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this thing to you. I'm gonna make the choice as again, as per written, because the beautiful thing about for me about writing, of which I admire and stand in awe of, is that, no matter what, you can come in with a limp and seven heads and six and all of this stuff. You're still, if you're playing Hamlet, you're still gonna have to face your father's the ghost of your father. You're still gonna have to tell your mother, because that's the story is written as written. It's in concrete. That's set. So you can't change that. So you can come in with 700 different colors, but at the end of the day, if you're playing Hamlet, you still got to face your mom and let her know that she married her brother, her husband's brother. And so those things never change. And so the same with the script. When I see these moments and I go, "Oh, cool, that's I'm always gonna have to still play that moment. That won't ever change." Uh, there's that. And then there's the element to go back to, and it happened most memorably for me personally as an actor working on Ozark and playing Omar Navarro, where I was asked what I thought.
Hmm.
And yeah, that it's an interesting thing. It's an Arsenio Hall moment, right? Things that make you go, hmm. But like the idea that you're being asked what you think of what's happening in the scene, or you're asked what you think of what's going on with the character and what the character is like, and all of these things. Those things, believe it or not, and it sounds rare and it shouldn't, but it is. It triggers your creative energy. It fires it up. It fuels it up. Whenever an actor's thought, what do you think? And the trap is that you think, oh, my character is the lead of the film. No, it's not that you're asked to up level. It's you take the moment to go, well, in this moment, what do I think about what the character is saying and doing? What is he tricking this person? Is he Oh, well, I think he's kind of trying to be loyal to his friend. Okay, great. But that's a collaborative thing, and that doesn't always happen, unfortunately. It much more so happens in theater, which is, again, we go
Hmm.
back to the fact that the woman who wrote this script expertly is a woman of the theater.
Absolutely. And would you think it was refreshing for you as an actor to
Absolutely.
explore a character who's not driven by fear or power and had a different drive behind him?
Yeah. Well, absolutely,
Stretch
because
your legs a little bit as an actor, right?
absolutely, you stretch them, and it's an interest for me. I'm always gonna be okay with not being the most important thing in the moment in the room. I enjoy not just I enjoy it so to the point where I'm again I'm I don't know where this comes from, but I'm selfless. I'm a selfless actor, not a selfish actor. And that's okay to be selfish, because sometimes you're playing a scene where you need to be in control and you need to take it all on and you need to run and carry the thing on your back. But there's something about being the selfless actor, which is about I'm third in the back right now, and I'm simply watching what's happening. And you will turn, and the camera will come to me, and you'll see me do a little eye roll, and then that's all. And then you're fine, and it's okay. And I love that. But that's also my theater upbringing, where it's ensemble, where it isn't just one person. That we're all collaboratively, excuse me, putting the story together. So for me, it feels okay to do that, and I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable in that pocket.
Well,
Uh,
it is an ensemble, but I think in every scene that you're in, you command a presence, and maybe that's just because I'm so used to seeing you in other things where those
sure.
characters did command your presence. But
Sure.
even in this, I'm always watching you to see, are you being serious? Or are you kind of being a little sarcastic? Or is this
Yeah.
a dangerous situation? Or are you like, what
Yeah.
side are you on here? And
Sure.
you always command a presence in the scene, no matter if you're in the background or not. So
Yeah.
I find that to be just a fascinating thing about this character, Jose, because from the minute I met him, I didn't know what to think of him. And slowly the layers come off.
Sure. You can blame my mom for that. She gave birth to that person. That's just me. It's who I am. It's birth given. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's a conscious decision I have on my part to ever do. I'm never aware of it. I'm simply always trying to do the the thing that I think I'm doing to the other person in the scene and just staying in that place. Yeah.
Well, Jose is like really this obedient employee, but the audience gets glimpses as the story unfolds that, maybe he's got his own agenda here a little bit. He's one person with Michaela, played by Julianne Moore. He's another person with Peter, played by Kevin Bacon. And then Simone, we mentioned earlier, Millie Alcock. He's kind of trolling her, making fun of her a little bit, keeping her on her toes. As someone like is entirely different when dealing with each of these members of this ensemble. And then, of course, with the staff, he more has a camaraderie with the staff. They're sort of on the same level. They're below the wealth, so they have that brotherhood kind of feeling. So my question is, how did you approach that duality?
Mhm.
Did you have a different on-set kind of way that you worked with both sets of, say, cast, because they were very different and you had to interact with both?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think again, if you're sitting inside of a moment where you are observing and responding and doing something to the other person in a scene, the other person will always affect it, will affect it in some way. I'm also, again, I'm a street level actor, right? And so I want to make friends and be friends and hang out with the crew as much as I want to hang out with the cast. And I want to make friends and hang out with the caterers who are making the lunch that we're going to eat in a couple of hours. I live inside of that world. It's where I come from.
That's the theater in you.
Yeah, it comes from we built my theater company built the sets of the same play that we would be in, and my theater company would make the costumes and I would come in at midnight and paint the set and I may have been the lead of the play that we were doing, but I was painting the set and we were on street corners handing out our flyers, to go see the shows and things. So all that all-inclusive thing has always been in me. And I find it interesting to me, and also puts me in my pocket. It puts me in my comfort zone to be able to do that. But to answer your question very specifically, yes, each actor has a different world, has a different energy, has a different, and so you as the actor opposite them, do go accordingly and act accordingly, and 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 allow for that to be part of the chemistry between the characters in the story and a status. And there's a status thing that you just quickly go, okay, well, this actor is playing my employer, therefore that status to be respected and honored in the scene. This person is I am in charge of this person's job, so there's the status in that scene. And how do we, where am I the yes ma'am, yes sir energy, and where am I the do this and do this and do this energy?
And the ensemble has these iconic actors. It's got Kevin Bacon, been around forever. Julianne Moore, a fellow New York actress. So obviously your paths might have crossed in some way. What was
Sure.
it like working with those two? And because their characters are so different, their approaches different. And did you find yourself approaching them differently as Jose or as an
Sure.
actor in general?
Sure, sure. Again, the story, the music as written dictates how the music is played, and the music as written in this one gives you a specific relationship with each one of those characters. And I hesitate to use the term art imitates life, and vice versa, but there is a camaraderie. I've been lucky enough to work with Kevin Bacon numerous times in the past. Two, three times we've done different projects and together, and so I have a kind of camaraderie with him, a simpatico, if you will, as amigos off camera that helps in the scene. And with Julianne, it was the same for me. I say, okay, well, the status of this character in this scenario requires and should require and demand a level of, okay, well, how do we treat each other, off camera in a way that allows for that to be the case. And it's always been for me the story dictates that, and the energy of the story dictates that, and at the same time too with the other cast members. Again, I've always been like, I'm the guy who goes tries to sneak into the kitchen of every restaurant that I'm having dinner at. Like,
I
right?
love that
We'll be like,
so
"How
much.
you doing back here? And this was great. And oh, you guys make it that way." And they're always like, "Felix, could you mind leaving the kitchen, please?" Because I just, I'm from that world, and that doesn't mean that I can't sit with the owner of the restaurant, or a Michelin winning chef, and hang out, and
Yeah.
conversation.
Well, you guys filmed this in Long Island, right? South
Yeah,
End, I think.
yeah, yeah.
And Cliff House is exactly what the name is. It's this massive mansion on a cliff overlooking the ocean. So, what
Incredible.
was it like filming there in South End? Did you guys commute to Long Island from New York, or did you stay
Sure.
there?
Sure, there were times if the schedule needed for us to either have a short turnaround, or that we were going to be doing consecutive days in one location. There was always which is always, again, for me, humbling and kind of gracious on my end to be able to say, I'd love to just spend the night at a hotel here so that I can turn right back around, because I have an apartment in Manhattan, in New York City, and so it would have to be a journey. But there were times,
Yes.
if the journey was necessary, then you took it. Because again, I was okay because I got to hang out with the Teamster who's driving the truck, and we get to shoot the shit about where we were and who we are and where we come from and all of that, which is part of the joy for me of working on every show, is that I get to have a conversation with someone that I don't know. And as the Dalai Lama once said, a stranger is only a friend I haven't made yet. And so it was fun that way. But yes, we were deep. We were North Fork. We were Oyster Bay.
Yeah. South Hold, and then I think you
South
were in like a
Pole.
historic park or
We
something
were,
you were filming in.
yeah, we were in crazy park with. There were moments where everyone was having a little bit of a little tick fear, because those ticks are out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's like spraying themselves down with tick, and we're all like checking each other for ticks throughout the day, because we're like, we were in it, but in that beautiful, beautiful part of the island, and where else
Did
was
you think that that kind of
Cold Spring
setting
Harbor at
just
one point?
added to the
Mhm.
feeling of the wealth and the prosperity? Do you feel like it just really set the tone on set?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because you're
it's
you're
impressive.
yeah, yeah. There were moments where we would take a break. I mean, if we could, and the schedule was allowing it, we would all take a break and just sit and watch the sun go down over those beautiful hills and those beautiful mountains out there, and the opulence of what that was, and sitting inside of houses and shooting scenes inside of houses where everybody had to wear shoes to make sure we didn't damage the floor. There were certain rooms we weren't allowed into because it's not a set. It's not built for us to beat up. It was someone's true home. And also just to be able to, like I said, to be able to sit and go, this is this is impressive, and be out there. Again, another thing, as a child, I've been doing this almost 27 years professionally, and I still approach it like a kid, where like today I looked at this call sheet and I went, I'm gonna go hang out in somebody's, $50 million mansion or whatever it is, and just,
Yeah, yeah.
this is cool. Let's take pictures. But yeah, we were out there. We were out in and I have a friend who's a very successful lawyer, and she has a home out there. So she was always like, she lived in Mattituck, and so she's always like, she would say to me, "Oh, really close. We're really close. Let's have dinner." We just couldn't. The schedule wouldn't permit. But so I knew and I grew up in Manhattan, in New York City, in Greenwich Village.
Upper West Side, right?
I was born on the Upper West Side, and I grew up in Chelsea, in Greenwich Village. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I grew up in the Chelsea, in the meatpacking, what's now called the meatpacking district. Uh,
Different back then than it is now.
Different meatpacking district, absolutely different.
Yeah, definitely different
Streets
back then.
streets are
Chelsea
going
is
in
night
different,
and day.
like night and day, night and day. And I miss some of that. I miss some of that. The only thing that I think is still there in the neighborhood is, one, my father, and two, what's that? Forget that, it's a steakhouse right there on 14th and Ninth. But Old Home.
Beans. Oh,
The old homestead
oh, the old homestead.
steakhouse, the old
Yes.
homestead steakhouse. They had the cow on top of the thing, and I remember we would always ride by our bikes and see if there was any like leftover unattended deliveries that we would just snatch and like share a burger or a piece of steak when we were kids, rambunctious and being crazy in the streets of New York. But yeah, no, it was just it's always nice for me. It's always it's that's so much part of the adventure and more so than the money or the attention or the accolade or the none of that stuff. It for me that pales in comparison to go today. I'm going to be able to pretend with people who I like, and we're pretending in a city and in a part of the island that I don't know, and it's just all of that. It's just I'm still a kid. I'm just still a kid that way. I'm
Well, let's talk
53 years.
about the director. The first two episodes was directed by Nicole Castle. She
Yeah,
kind of set the mood for the series right off the bat from the
absolutely.
first two, and the
Sure.
tension was built into those early episodes. What was it
Mhm.
like working with her? You mentioned that you felt free to maybe express what you were thinking about scenes. Did that continue throughout the series working with her?
Absolutely, absolutely, because Nikki is the kind of if you didn't know better, if you didn't know better, you would think we didn't know what we were doing. If you didn't know better, because we're all saying yes and exploring and trying and let's do this and can we try that and why don't I don't know how to do that. How does that light work? I don't know, but let's find out and let's figure out a way that you would think if you weren't really paying attention, you would think this actor, these people, you don't know what the hell they're doing. But in fact, what it was is that we were exploring and trying and testing and like we were in a lab in a weird way where we were just trying to let's try it. Well, let's see what happens if it goes this way. Or why don't we try it? Oh, I like the way that happened. Let's try. And that's Nikki. Nikki's that kind of exploratory director and which is again it's my wheelhouse is to not be perfect and to never be perfect and didn't mean and I want to make sure that I'm not saying that she didn't know she knew exactly what she was doing. She's an incredibly capable director, but it just always felt like it was an
Mhm.
exploration and a tryout and a thing. And I dig that. I dug that completely.
Was there a specific scene maybe that you did when you were filming that you were really proud of, or you're really proud of the cast and how it turned out that you hope maybe fans latch onto or get something out of?
I think it's the magic. I there's a fantastic realism to this story, and and that fantastic realism, the fact that the show and the play and everything around it, the story, is inspired by the Sirens poem, by things that are magical and alluring and intoxicating and kind of they have a kind of uh what do you call it, like a kind of mysticism to them, and in general I would say that in general that was something that I thought this is going to put this aside. This is going to stand out. This is gonna what's gonna help make this five-part miniseries stand out is that there's a fantastic realism, there's a magic to it, and I hope that will find its way to the audience as well, and that they'll be able to go, this is different in its magic, you know.
Yeah, because there is sort of this marriage between the realism of this wealth and trying to get ahead and trying to stay relevant, and then there's this surrealism, this magical side of it. So it really does not, it cannot be pigeonholed into like just a drama, just a thriller. It has this ethereal part to it that I can't really put my finger on, but it's fascinating to watch.
Absolutely. And then I think that's again credit to the writing and credit to the way that it was written and the way that to Nikki's credit too, the way it was developed and produced. And she put together a good ensemble to tell a fantastically real story. a
Well,
fantastically magical story,
and 5 episodes is a mini series. Obviously, fans are going to consume that in one afternoon as soon as it drops. So, what's next for you, Felix? Are you working on any other projects that we can keep our eyes out for? Something down the line that maybe you
Well,
can hint about without
yeah,
spoiling?
so I just did a fun, just beautiful older sort of traditional film for me, which I love. It's a film called The Friend. It's out in theaters now. It stars Bill Murray and Naomi Watts. And it's a beautiful, beautiful told story, independently made,
With the dog. I saw the
with
preview
the
for it. With the
dog, with
dog, yes.
Finn. Yeah. So that's something I'm kind of personally, from a personal place, proud of because I play a superintendent of a building in New York City. So I'm playing my dad,
You're
right?
playing your dad.
I'm playing my dad, which is amazing for me. So
And this
that's
is the second project for Bill and Naomi. They've worked together before.
From what I understand, yeah, from what I
Yeah.
understand, yeah. And so and I did a film called The International many years ago with that Naomi Watts was the lead in and so it was fun to kind of come back however many years later. And so that and this, this is exciting for me with Sirens. And then I got myself a little recurring gig on a TV show called The Rookie on ABC. I play Special Agent Matt Garza, who works for the FBI, and he's sort of an outside the box thinking FBI agent who tries to go at solving cases and things from an unorthodox place. So he's fun, and I'm always sort of patiently waiting at the door to see if they call me to come back and do that. So that's also something that I'm hoping will find its way again this coming season. But that
So, what would you like to say to the fans who have followed you through your career? Because, like you said, they were fans of you when they chose you for this. I'm a fan of you. As soon as I saw your name pop up on my interview list, I said, I'm doing that one. I loved him in Ozark. So, what would you like to say to fans who are following you around? They love your work and they can't wait for the next thing that you're going to put out.
I will never, ever, 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 ever take for granted. A lot of people say to me, this is going to be a sort of unorthodox answer to your question. A lot of people have said to me recently, as a result of the attention from Ozark, you must get sick of this. And I go, what? They go, people coming up to you and saying, "Oh my God, and can I take a selfie? And I just want to shake your hand and say," and I go, absolutely not. I do not get sick of it. I will never be ever, ever above saying hello, saying thank you, being grateful, because that's how my mom and my dad raised me, right? The one thing my mother said to me when I said, "Ma, I think I'm going to become a professional actor." I think my dad said, "Well, if they're stupid enough to pay you to do that, you should be smart enough to take it." And then and my mother said, she said, "The only thing that you are not allowed to do is to let your feet come off the ground." She said this to me. She said, "Do not let your head can fly as high as it wants to in the clouds. But the minute your feet start to come off the ground, you are not doing yourself a service. You are doing yourself a disservice." And I think about that every time someone stops me on the street, says hello, waves, sends a photo in the mail for me to sign or something. I remember that. I remember my mother saying that. And I go, that's never going to change. So, what do I say to people who are fans of mine? I am who I am now. I was the same person before you saw Ozark. I will be the same person after you're done watching Ozark. I haven't changed.
Your feet are on the ground.
My feet are always going to be on the ground, and my hand will always be ready for a handshake and a hug, because that's who I am.
And
Uh,
that's what an actor is. An actor, they breathe life into real people's story. And as a real person, my feet have always touched the ground. I walk the streets.
yeah, yeah, and I had this conversation the other day with someone, and they and it was an accurate conversation. the conversation we had was they said, the more I get to talk to you, the more I say hello to you, Felix, the more I see you, because it's a local guy who works at a restaurant, and I go there, I love the food, so I go there a lot. And he goes, the more I get to understand, you're not like an actor. And I said, no. And he goes, you're just a guy. And I said, I am. And he goes, yeah. And I said, yeah, I'm a guy who happens to act. I'm just a guy who happens to act.
You
And
know, I think a lot of actors could take that tip. I think that keeping your feet on the ground and keep it real, I think
yeah,
helps you tell real stories about people.
yeah, it doesn't mean you can't fill yourself with a kind of pride or a kind of integrity for the hard work that you've done and the things that you've done and the accolades that you're receiving as a result of that. That doesn't say to push those away. It's just to say know that those are there, but just take a second to look down to see if your feet are still on the ground. Because if they are, what's interesting, and I may be poetic in this moment, but when your feet are planted on the ground firmly, you can carry a lot more weight.
Mm.
That weight that you carry is going to be the accolades and the attention and the interviews and we're flying you here to do this and all of that. You can carry a lot more of that when your feet are on the ground. So the irony, right, in that,
Yeah.
the irony
Yeah, that
is
was
that
really profound.
the
I
more
really
ground,
appreciate that
you know what I
that
mean?
insight because a lot
Yeah.
of people have different answers to that kind of question, you know. But that was really
Yeah.
profound, and I really appreciate that.
It makes sense to me. It makes sense in my brain that if I'm the firmer I'm planted on the ground, the more I can carry
The
over.
more I can carry. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Felix. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for chatting with me today. Fans, the new series is fantastic. It's going to drop May 22nd. You can stream all 5 episodes right away if you want. It's going to be on Netflix. Make sure you catch Felix in that and also his new film, Friend. You're going to want to check that out. If you love dogs, you love Night Watch, you love Felix, you love Bill Murray, go see it.